Hi, I'm Koro. Today I have summarized the key points and my thoughts based on my own blog. Let's dive into the main content.
You know the feeling. You're in the middle of a great run, you're in the zone, feeling strong, and then bam, out of nowhere, this throbbing headache just hits you. It is so frustrating, right? And it can totally ruin a race you've trained months for. So today, we're going to dig into exactly why that happens and, way more importantly, how you can stop it. Let's get to the bottom of this. It almost always starts just like this, doesn't it? Just a quiet, nagging thought in the back of your mind. For so many of us, this is that first little warning sign that a really nasty headache is about to crash the party. Sound familiar? If you've ever had that crazy, out-of-the-blue pain threaten to derail your run, trust me, you are in very, very good company.
All right, let's put on our detective hats. We're going to investigate the usual suspects to figure out what's really going on when that headache decides to show up.
Okay, first up, the most obvious culprit is always dehydration. But in this case, nah. The runner was actually doing a great job with hydration, drinking plenty of water. So, we can cross dehydration right off our list. Well, what about the weather? We all know a super hot day can absolutely destroy a run. But nope, not this time. The conditions were actually pretty close to perfect, so suspect number 2 is off the hook. So maybe the effort was just too much? Pushing way beyond the limits? Not this time either. It was a half marathon, a distance this runner was totally prepared for. So, with all the usual suspects having a solid alibi, the mystery just gets deeper. Which, of course, leads us to the million-dollar question. If it's not dehydration, not the heat, and not going too far, what in the world is actually going on inside our heads when we run? It's time to pull back the curtain and unmask the real villain here. And here's a hint. The answer has less to do with what's going on outside and everything to do with the plumbing inside your body.
So this thing actually has a name, a primary exertional headache. I know, it's a mouthful, but all it really means is a headache that's caused directly by the physical effort itself, specifically by the super fast, dramatic changes happening inside your blood vessels.
This breaks it down perfectly. It's like a chain reaction. It all starts with a sudden spike in how hard you're working, like sprinting from the start or hitting a really steep hill. Your blood vessels have to expand, like really fast, to handle all that demand for blood. But that sudden expansion can literally pinch the super-sensitive nerves in your head, and that is what triggers that awful throbbing pain. It's a surprisingly simple mechanism with a very, very painful result. Does this sound familiar? That throbbing, pulsating pain, almost like you can feel your heartbeat in your skull. It usually hits both sides of your head, and it can either feel like a switch was flipped or it can slowly build up over time. Now, here is where it gets really interesting. While that rapid blood vessel expansion is the main event, it turns out it often has some co-conspirators. Let's take a look at the other hidden triggers that can make everything worse.
I mean, just think about a typical race morning. You're waking up at some ungodly hour, so you're probably short on sleep. You have a jolt of caffeine from a pre-race coffee. And maybe you skip your warm-up because you're in a rush. Each one of those things basically primes your body for that sudden spike in blood pressure, making a headache almost inevitable.
Okay, enough about the problem. Let's talk about the solution. We're going to break this down into a really simple, 2-step prevention plan to help keep your head clear on your next run.
So what's the first pillar of prevention?
Step 1 is all about one thing: gradual adaptation. In other words, you need to make getting used to it your most important training partner. So what does that actually look like in practice? It means no sudden, huge jumps in your training. You slowly increase your distance over weeks. You gradually introduce a little more speed. The whole point is to let your body adapt to higher intensity in training so it's not a complete shock on race day.
And that brings us to the second, equally important part of our prevention plan. Step 2 is all about smarter preparation. This is all about what you do in those crucial moments right before your run to set yourself up for success.
So here's your pre-run checklist. First, and this is absolutely non-negotiable, always warm up. You want to ease your heart rate up, not shock it into overdrive. And here's a little pro tip from our source material. Consider adding a little extra salt to whatever you eat before you run. It can actually help with regulating blood pressure. All right, let's bring it all home. Here are the most essential things to remember for your next run. So let's put it all together in one neat package. The problem is that sudden, race-ruining headache. The main cause is a primary exertional headache. that fancy term for your blood vessels expanding too fast and pinching nearby nerves. And the solution is a powerful 1-2 punch: gradual adaptation in your training and smarter preparation on race day.
And that's pretty much a wrap. So I'll just leave you with this to think about. Based on everything we just covered, what's the one small, simple change you're going to make before your next run to help keep your head in the game and keep that pain away?